Welcome, ladies. It's so good to see you guys again together. The January cohort is back together, even though you guys have been together, I think, since leaving here the end of February. So thank you for coming and giving some post. We welcome post commentary and talk about just kind of the before and after, because that's what we do a little bit of talking about. And then we'll be talking a little bit about the after yappas, so the post yappas that really lead into the Repioneering Church and the No Wasted Time Network and the commerce metrics.
We have extraordinary tools in our box now that we didn't have before. And so, yes, the 30 days is intensive.
Yeah.
Invaluable.
Well, let's pull up the videos. I feel like I don't watch a whole lot of reality TV, but every now and then I'll catch something, and there'll be a reality show, and they'll be having a recap, and they'll be showing pieces. Remember when this happened? I felt like that as I was going through these videos and getting my mind together about what to share. All right, let's just start where we started. So the catch up. This was our pre-cohort meeting that was done the end of the year as we were preparing for the January cohort to begin making their travel preparations and just all the things that led up to getting here to Cuenca, Ecuador. So I'll start with where we started, and then we'll just kind of go from there.
Okay.
Well, welcome, ladies. Thank you for gathering. I thought it would be easier, especially when we need to coordinate dates and times and travel and all of that, to just do it one time. That's being efficient with my energy. If we all here, we can have that conversation. So thank you all for doing the intake process. I call it application because that's what people kind of understand. But part of this is about alternative commerce. This is how you pay your deposit. You know, part of this is the give of being in community, that we have to learn other ways of being able to do commerce. Part of this is valuable. What you guys are coming to is valuable. We have a price tag. We charge ladies $3,000 to come for a month and do the healing retreat and then do a respite stay for the rest of the month. It's valuable. And then if you add to that the value of the healing tools that have been part of the life work that I've been involved in for 25 years of social tech. And part of that comes from that foundation that we got to do healing. We just have to. We just have to. If we're going to fix the stuff in ways that take us towards love and towards transformation versus just beating folks into submission, or bribing them into submission, then we got to do more. Yeah. So part of this is a commerce exchange that we're going to be involved in. And part of that deposit, just like if you were going to book a date, you'd have to have your deposit paid, to be able to say our date is on the calendar, so that we block off this space, not only the physical space, but the emotional space, to be prepared to give you what we want you to receive on this experience. So I thank you all for taking the time in earnest to go through those steps. To try to be very intentional, because I don't like wasting time. I like being efficient. And so the things that we put in there were important. There are things that I want you to know about what we're doing in the process, because then it's full disclosure that you say, she told us exactly what she was expecting in the give and exchange of what's being given to me when I come. So that is important to me. And thank you for taking the time and investing in that process. So you guys had homework before you guys even start this process.
We sure did.
Let's start there and talk about that, because I do business a little bit different. I use my medicine. Social tech is a foundation for not just how I live, but how I do business. And clear agreements. The things you can anticipate, that if there were issues of conflict later on, when you're not on happy everybody together terms, have you considered the potential areas for conflict? And do you have a solution for that? And that's part of the agreements. We don't talk a lot about covenants, but covenants talk about how we're agreeing to be with each other. We understand contracts in business, but when we're talking about socially, we're talking about social covenants with each other. How are we agreeing to be with each other? And we can't anticipate a whole lot of stuff, but the stuff we can anticipate, what if we work that out in advance? So when the stuff we can't anticipate comes up, our brain is free to be able to deal with that. Our emotions are free to deal with that without the things that we should have talked about or could have talked about in advance. Tell us a little bit about the process of getting even into this program. What did it take?
I want to go first.
She wants to go here.
Go for it.
Because I got a clearer understanding of what my understanding was and wasn't.
What's that mean? Wendy's talking in code.
No, I'm gonna.
What's she talking about? What's she talking about?
I'm gonna lay it all out. My trust in Diamond what I learned about myself throughout the process is that I don't open my mouth enough, right? I don't speak enough. And this process, the entry into this process was one such case. I heard one thing and I made up something else about what we were doing there. And that made up story was part of the reason why I showed you aura pictures. That had nothing to do with it. I thought that we were having some sort of teaching class that had to do with us being teachers in some form of fashion, and me bringing all of those things from my past, that I wanted you to see, only had to do with me proving that I could do this teaching thing that you wanted us to do, when that had nothing to do with why I was there at all. And when I got done showing all that stuff to you that day, like, look at me doing this, and I've done these Reiki and blah, blah, blah. I was like, well, where's everybody? Where's all these Where are all these people that I made up in my mind that I was coming to Cuenca for to assist and give help to? And no, you're the person.
People? You were the
You're
people?
the person. I didn't, listen, I'm telling you, again, this is what happens when you don't talk enough. And you don't ask enough questions, and you just follow along like sheep and herds and things.
Which pig was that? Because someone introduced, one of the Gangsta Grannies introduced.
It was me, the fig me.
Yeah.
I talk about those things a lot, but I didn't have an acronym. I talk about fear and insecurity and guilt, and the result of those things is that they create self-sabotaging behavior.
Okay, well, there was no guilt there because I hadn't done anything to be guilty about yet that I knew of, but there was fear and insecurity and self-sabotage. So I was a F.I.G.S of self-sabotaging behavior because I had expectations that were built on trash in my head that didn't have anything to do with any facts, because I hadn't required any facts in my agreement. Okay, I just said yes because I knew that I was going to be away during the time that I wanted to be away, and I also knew that healing was part of it. So that was my buzzword, healing. But who was healing and who was doing the healing and how that was coming about was I had no idea. So I filled in the blanks. Anybody that asked me what I was doing, I was going to Cuenca to be a co-facilitator at a healing retreat. Now,
you absolutely were. You were co-facilitating your own healing retreat.
Who knew? Who knew? I wanted to spread this to the world. And I will, but not right then. So
we sometimes fill in the blanks. We fill in a lot of blanks, and we talked a lot about that, the fluff that we pile things in, and we just make it up. We just pull it out of
nowhere.
Sometimes.
Nowhere.
We're doing our best, but sometimes our best comes out of nowhere. Yeah. And does that occupy energy in our life when
oh my gosh.
it was happy energy because everybody that I told that story to, they were so happy for me. And this is what you're doing? Yes. I'm going to Cuenca to co-facilitate at a healing facility. It's wonderful. Everybody felt so good about that endeavor for me.
That's so sweet.
Yes,
I did. I absolutely did. I was co-facilitator.
There was nobody there though.
Yeah, no, there wasn't. There was
facilitated for each other. That's what it was.
I hadn't counted you in the equation because you were one of the co-facilitators. I don't know what you were going to be doing, Lorana. Maybe just giving us some cliff notes on what we were going to do.
The snacks was here
for the rest of the community, but I knew that I was going to come back with some pen or some certificate of look at what I've done.
Yeah,
and I did, but not in that context.
Not in the way you originally, from the beginning, thought.
Mm-hmm. Right. It was much better than that because again, I don't know what I would have taught anyone.
And that was my thing. I said, when you thought you were a co-facilitator, what were you going to be teaching? We don't know nothing yet. So, it's just an ongoing joke between us now. It gets funnier. It gets funnier every time.
Because my ability to imagine is great.
I have a creative imagination.
I am very, very good at that.
Yes. This does help you get to know yourself a little more honestly.
Oh, most definitely.
Really? Because it's
most definitely.
That wasn't true. It's not necessarily a lie. It's just a reinvention.
Yeah. How is that? Reinvention. Okay, definition, not a lie.
Gotcha. Not a lie. It's just a reinvention.
Is that not real life?
Yes.
And not having that then creates tension because we've established a set of expectations. And one of the things we learned was when your expectations are conflicted, what happens? Every single time. What happens? Round zero of trauma.
Yep, traumatized.
We also learned that sometimes that trauma happens and there's one person who has created the set of actions and expectations that then don't end up being sustainable. And who did we learn is oftentimes that person?
I don't know. Who you talking about? This a quiz?
Real question.
Oh. That's not me.
That's the person. But not me person.
That's her. It's not me.
Right. Anyway, Diamond, what about you? Getting into this, there was work before you guys even started making preparations. How was that? Was it relevant? Because sometimes they'll say, why you got to do all this? Because I say so. Some things are just because I say so. It's the policy. Right. It's my policy. Do it because it's the policy or not. It's choice. Mm-hmm. Talk about that a little bit from your perspective of the work really starting in the preparation to come into this program.
Yeah, absolutely. Unlike my co-living partner here, I was very clear on concept. You and I had conversations way before this opportunity even presented itself. So I was familiar with the work that you were doing. I was familiar with your channel and that type of thing. So when the opportunity presented itself, I was like, yes, I want to be part of this program. And I said to you, it's going to be a package team because Wendy and I are, we are doing proof of concept. We're co-living all 2025. So what better way to set that example of what successful co-living could look like other than starting with your program, which gives us the tools to live in harmony. We already like each other. We're already sister friends. But there are things that are going to come up. Life is the curriculum that we need to be able to address in love and leave in peace. And that was really important to me. So I was like, listen, yep, I'm coming. I want to be a part of it. And you said, all right, well, this is the cost of entry. Go on my website, pick one of these videos, and then tell me about it, how it affected you. And so that was a heavy lift because it required me to be introspective. And I said, well, dang, man, if this is just the entry work, then this is going to be heavy for 30 days. So I really went in with that expectation. And the fact that you had that as a requirement help to manage the expectation for me. This is not going to be easy breezy 1, 2, 3. It's not going to be breathe in and out. It's not going to be all the fluffy things that we hear about healing. It's really digging in and pulling out those biggest traumas in our lives. So I was excited because that was something that I avoided practically my whole life. So yes, I think it was relevant. I think it is necessary. I think anybody who's not willing to do that portion of the work just to get into the program is not going to be prepared for the program, mentally or emotionally.
When I did the pre-work, I was intrigued that went along with my story, right? All of the things that the video was asking of us, I was like, yes, this is going to be great because I get it. I get this and I understand that conceptually. I just didn't have the players correct, but I did understand the assignment that I'm getting ready to, get asked to think outside my box or whatever box I have. Now I'm thinking my box isn't that big though, because I've thought outside my box many times. See, but it was intriguing to me to have that venture before me. Let me do this. It's gonna be fun. That may not be exactly how I describe it as fun, but fulfilling for sure.
So I'm glad that you guys did that part of the process, because now it gives you some insight. It's one of the process.
Mute. You went mute.
Okay. Anytime there's especially if there's a work exchange, we require that process. It's part of the process. For any collaboration, we require the process and more. But part of it was about recognizing that you're coming far away. First of all, this is South America. Many of our participants, much of the audience that I have is American. Picking up and coming to a foreign country is far. It's a big leap. This isn't round the corner, an hour drive away where I can go home. You can't go home so quickly. Right. If you've made the commitment to be here, changing flights and just all that goes into that. But part of it is about giving an accurate picture of what people are coming into. The other thing that brings up is the videos are available. It's one of the things that I've had to make a value determination on, of not hoarding healing. Now, I do take responsibility for my time, but I've placed the playlist of free training online so that if anyone needs access to tools and they find it, then it's available to them. You had the opportunity of watching that video with some of the training and then coming and participating in the training live. Can you tell a little bit about the difference? Y'all had the video. Why'd y'all have to come all the way to Cuenca? Couldn't y'all have done this at home? Talk about a little bit of the difference, because one, the video does tell you exactly what I tell you guys over and over again every single day that you're here, but give me a little bit of take from your vantage point now of having gone through the video in the pre-application process and then coming and actually spending time living the training in real life here and having the support to be able to kind of process that. What was that like in contrast for you guys?
Night and day. You were the one. Night and day. That the pre-video was welcome, but there's no way to prepare one for what the program really brings. We can sit and toss those thoughts around before we get there, but they have a home, they have a place, there's a structure to it, and that's something that you can't know until you get there. You don't have any idea what that looks like. For you personally. I see what it looked like for that person that was on the screen and that person that said this answer, but you can't be prepared for it because it's highly personal, subjective, and those other people's conversations were their thoughts, not mine. So there's no way to apply all that until you get there.
Yeah. I agree. It is the difference between night and day. Even though, like I said, I understood the assignment to the best of my ability, getting there and having that dedicated time. You have taken 30 days of your life to do nothing but concentrate on your healing. You're not going to do that on a video. I don't care if you're trying to lose 100 pounds. You're not going to be consistent at it. You're not going to be as dedicated as if you are live and in person. And you have a Lorana who is that life, coach per se, that's going to help you to untangle all of this crap that we got in our minds. The focus is intense because it's all about me. And I posted a couple of videos on Facebook that said, when's the last time that you just took 30 days and did nothing but heal you? Think about you, not your daughter, your son, your mother, nobody but you. And it's an incredible experience. And I'm going to say the word is a 4-letter word. It's hard and it's work. Those two, it's hard work when you have to focus entirely on yourself for that dedicated amount of time. So, you can do the videos. If you can't get the Cuenca, most definitely do the videos. But night and day. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Go to Cuenca because it's just not the same.
It's not the same. And being in a safe space where you can emote and you can discuss your F.I.G.S, your fears, insecurities, guilt, self-sabotaging actions, right? Responses along the road of your life, doing it in a safe space, and then having a beautiful space to go to and woosah. Wendy had her own ensuite bedroom. I had mine. There's a balcony out back and there's a balcony out front. You spend as much time together as you want or need and as much time apart as you need. And the facility provides that. Again, you can't discount the value of having this healing in a safe space.
Yeah, because you can't go home.
You can't go home. And I thought about it because I could leave, right?
Yeah.
I thought about it. I was like, what? This is hard. I don't know if I still want to do this. It was like week 2. And I think one of my videos was like, I've always been a fight or flight chick. And I'm like, I ain't got to be here. It was a decision. It was the best decision that I've made for my life in a very, very long time.
Yeah. No doubt.
Yeah.
From the things that I've done, this is up there.
One of the points you mentioned was about coming to do the hard work. I think a lot of times we think about healing. Sometimes we get wellness and healing activities confused. You volunteered to come do hard work that made you want to leave. Why would you volunteer to do that?
Part of it had to do with fitting in the program time-wise, fit into what we were trying to do for the year.
Yeah.
Okay. Where are we going to be? And that's always a consideration. And this seemed like a very good place to be for that amount of time. Okay. Real talk. Let's work this out so we have that time spent in the best way possible. Now, did I know that it was going to be that hard? No. Did I have any idea of all the things to expect from that? I had my own story, but I was quickly corrected, course corrected with all of that. But no, you have to be there.
Yeah.
You got to be there.
For me, I started my healing journey in 2022, and it started here in Ecuador. When life had life the heck out of me, I felt like I was absolutely losing my mind, death of my parents, death of my last marriage, all the things combined. It was just life overload for me. And so as my daughter has accused me many times, she said, "Ma, you ran away from home." And I did. I ran away from home at 58. And I started a personal healing quest because I had a lot of trauma, right? And when I ran into your videos and your program and the way you were talking about healing trauma, I felt like this was the necessary next step for me. You know, this has been a 3-year journey for me, but I feel like this was the biggest challenge for me because I confessed, you know, during our session, like, you know, people be like, well, we got to talk about your childhood and this, that, and the third. And I'm like, well, I'm not here for that. I'm not talking about that. So that boulder was pushed down and pushed down and pushed down, and you challenged us. We want to work on your biggest boulder. The biggest trauma that you got is the one that we're going to work on for 30 days. And I felt like if I was ever going to tackle that boulder, this was the place to do it. This was probably the only place that I would have done it for 30 days. And, you know, I'm so much different from the experience. It's just incredible. It's life-changing. It's transformative, honestly.
Yeah, it's impossible to go back.
You can't unknow what we know now.
No, it's like, okay, you can try, but it's like putting on really purposefully picking out the wrong pair of shoes.
Yeah.
That doesn't fit.
No.
It doesn't even
It doesn't work.
It
doesn't work
right
anymore.
When to think of something using the tools in a factual manner, that is huge. That's huge. Because facts don't come into the narratives that we normally tell.
At all. And you challenged us day after day after day. In the beginning, we were meeting like twice a day.
Like,
and oh my God. And you like, but what are the facts? What are the facts? And that was the challenge that you gave us every single time we got together. And now that, you know, it's ingrained in us. We challenge one another all the time.
And listening to other people's things, you know, because we got friends here and they're going through different stuff, life things. It's like, what's the facts in that
What's
story?
the facts in that story?
Yeah, I don't see no facts over there, you know, and just being able to spot past behavior. I'll put it that way.
Right.
Because it ain't like what somebody else is doing. What I do, and I still do it, but it's toned down. It can be rectified. It can be trimmed down to a place that makes sense.
And we're able, because we did the program together and we are co-living together, we can hold one another accountable. Because there are times when I'll go back and reach for that F.I.G, and she was like, wait a minute. That's not what's really happening, D. That's not what's really happening. And the same with her, you know? So, you know, because life is going to life us. And as you say all the time, life is the curriculum. And so when that presents itself, we're here to hold one another accountable. Let's talk about the facts. And how is your behavior now going to be different than it has been historically? We're not reaching for those F.I.Gs. And we know what they are now. We got language around this, which we didn't have before.
Didn't have the language. And interestingly enough, though, acknowledging the F.I.G is no easier.
Right.
Okay.
That's true.
Even though we got tools like pointed out, when they are upon you, it's the same feeling. Same reach for whatever the drug of choice is to get rid of it. The same everything, but it can stop.
Yeah.
It doesn't keep escalating.
Right.
It doesn't turn into a true story. Right?
Yeah. The gas is on, but we're not putting a light to it anymore.
Yeah.
And that is what growth looks like. It's the both and. It's saying, I have better tools so that in life, in real time, I'm not creating more trauma.
Right.
And it's also continuing to do the work.
Yeah.
Because we started the process, but as you guys probably can identify with, even one little incident may have all kinds of layers.
Oh my God.
Could have a string of moments, of incidents, and if we learn to begin taking each one and unweaving it, old stuff stops triggering us.
Yeah.
Gives us more energy so that when the real-time stuff is happening, we now have a framework. One of my dear friends told me that this is like air traffic control speak or military speak.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, say more. And he says, there's a language that air traffic control uses. Because if there were to be misunderstandings in their communication, harm could happen. It's the exact same reason that people in the military have a code system. A is always alpha. It's not Apple or Aaron or it's always one thing, because if communication is not done effectively between parties, harm could happen.
Yeah.
And he says this does that on the social platform. I said, you're right. It is a framework where it shows you another way of thinking through life as it's happening or as it has already happened. It teaches you how to grow your vocabulary for communicating the things that are related to the incidents happening in your life.
Absolutely.
The two of you now have tools. When you're saying to her, is that facts? It's saying we have a framework to think through that we believe gets us to healing.
It makes me excited about the relationships that I have to reform them according to this, in opposed to how I used to always think. I know that it may take a lot, and I know that on some levels it may feel like force feeding for people. I don't want it to be that, but this is where I am, and I can't go back over there.
I'm not going back over there.
You want to make me try, but here's why I'm not going over there with you. And I don't know, sometimes that's accepted, sometimes it isn't. But I don't really care as much about what somebody else does with the information as much as I care about how I'm using the information. I want to share it.
You care about different things. I care about the person I'm responsible for caring about.
Right.
And we learned about when things or situations don't align with your values, who's responsible for setting the boundaries for your life?
That was a big thing for me.
Still is.
Setting boundaries.
It is.
Yes,
it's a big
healthy
thing.
Boundaries, because I'm a bricklayer. I build walls. That's it. My walls are real strong and tight. And I walked away reconsidering business alliances, personal relationships, whether or not I have healthy boundaries around any of them. And when challenges have come up, since we left you, and I have these tools, I'm now able to really able to analyze the situation much differently. What are the facts? And make decisions that are in my best interest, because it's all about my freedom. It's not about, how somebody else feels about the boundary I put up. You're entitled to your feelings. They are valid. That's what you said to us all the time. You're entitled to your feelings, but your feelings can't make me do something that's going to re-traumatize myself. And so I've had to use this on almost a daily basis, and that's no joke. Almost every single day.
We use that other stuff on a daily basis.
That's right. That's right. That is a fact.
So it is a fact. So let's just flip over what we're using every day. That's where I am.
Yeah.
Let me just flip over my tools, my toolbox.
Absolutely.